Hey you guys, Sherlock here. So today we have a highly requested build, Rapier tanking. I've been using this in the background of a few of our videos lately and people have been super impressed by the gameplay, so I thought we would get in and actually make a build on it. What inspired this video was AGS removing grit from 300 con light attacks. With the Rapier you have a lot of grit and invulnerabilities. You have Evade, which you can just literally evade attacks. Flurry, which gives you 1 second of invulnerability and a lot of healing through Leeching Flurry. And you have a hard block that gives a good CC and riposte. So the idea around this build is looking at getting as high a crit chance as possible. As you can see, the perk here, Red Curtains, critical strikes reduce all cooldowns by 5%. So this here, mixed with the ability Refreshing Strikes and ensuring we have 4 stacks of refreshing, allows us to essentially have 100% flurry uptime with as little as 2 mobs. This here means that we're essentially not getting hit by a lot of attacks with our vulnerability. We're dealing out pretty good damage and we have a lot of self-sustain between Leeching Flurry and Blood Drinker. Now there's nothing too crazy going on with this build. You're literally just hitting Evade into Flurry as quickly as possible. Now with the Riposte you can just use that as a good CC on cooldown, as it is also an AoE taunt that'll taunt all foes within 5 meters. If you can get a piece on your armor with Sundering Riposte, that will help out the team a little bit with some rends, but it's not the end of the day. For offhand options, you're usually looking at a greatsword, as you can enter the battle with a relentless rush. You can rupture, you can use calamity counter to block those initial attacks. These here will be great initial AoE taunt and give you a bit of a breather while the team gets their grab wells, the heals down, and everyone kind of collects himself. Then you can start moving into your Rapier, your Evade, your Flurry, and your Riposte spams. For attribute points, you're ideally looking at 350 dex. This here will give you an extra 15% crit chance while empowered, which is pretty much 100% uptime. Now the next bit you need to decide is between your intelligence and your con. I like to play this build at around 100 con, but you may want to try it at 200 or 300 depending on how it works for you. And then whatever points you have left, put them into intelligence. And if you want some extra cooldowns, you can put 25 points into focus. What we will do first is go over each armor piece, jewelry, weapons, and then I can let you know the crit chance you have and a couple adjustments that you can make to this build. Now we are looking at 725 stuff here. All of the Hoplite and the Gorgonite can be replaced by 700 gear score, either Azoth Crystal gear or crafted gear. So don't stress out too much about seeing that 725 there. Now it's pretty standard here. I'll bring them up on screen. For our head, you want Enchanted Ward, Health, and Slash Conditioning. That health perk can be switched out for either Sundering Riposte or another Refreshing if you need be. We're really aiming for as much Enchanted Ward and Slash Conditioning as possible. For our chest piece, we have Enchanted Ward, Slash Conditioning, and Refreshing. For the Magnetic Gauntlets, we want to put Slash Conditioning on those also. Magnetic Gauntlets is the center of this build. This here increases your crit chance by up to 50%. This here is what gives us such high cooldown rates on our Evade and our Flurry, allowing us to almost be permanently invulnerable. For our legs, we have Enchanted Ward, Slash Conditioning, and Refreshing. And for our boots, we have Enchanted Ward, Slash Conditioning, and Leeching Flurry. So what we're looking at here is 2 medium pieces, the boots and the helmet, light leg wear, heavy chest, and heavy gloves. You could also look at switching out the heavy chest for a Frigid Dawn piece if you're not trying to hit that 725 mark. This here will give us the perfect armor weight of 22.9 kgs, which is the best you can get in a medium armor weight. For your amulet, we have a health, so depending on the content you're doing, you're going to need different protections, whether it be slash, strike, or an elemental protection. And we have refreshing here just so we can ensure that we have our 5 slash conditioning on our armor. Now slash conditioning is a 5% slash damage absorption for 5 seconds. When you're tanking, almost every single mob that's going to hit you has a slash damage attack. And this here will give you straight up extra 25% slash damage protection, which is like running another 5 moonstones. Now for tanking, I pretty much always recommend Blood Drinker. Unless you are going for that absolute pinnacle last 2% of damage. It offers so much extra lifesteal and sustain, especially in random groups when you can't necessarily trust the healer. It's perfect. For this build, we're going to look at Keen Awareness on the Blood Drinker, and Keen Awareness does work across most of your builds. Now, if you do have another Rapier in the team, you could look at putting Keen Tondo on a piece of armor, and this would allow you to put thrust damage on your ring. And moving into the weapon here, we've got Keen on the weapon as well. So if you've got that Keen Tondo, you can actually remove that keen on the weapon and change that to keenly empowered. Before we go into weapon, I'll finish off on the earring. The earring isn't a biggie, you just want to have despised. You can look at regeneration on there. Now if you're going for a 725 build, we have to go for the earring of Shah Nashin because it's one of the only ways for us to be able to hit the right attribute splits. So this one here is Purifying Toast, Refreshing Toast, and Despised. Onto the weapons, we're looking at a Gorgon's Rapier. This can be a Gorgonite, it can be a Hoplite, it can be whatever you can get your hands on. So looking at the weapon here, the base of it is going to be Vicious and Omnidirectional Evade. This here will boost our damage greatly as we are almost always critting, and it is giving us a high in power. Now depending on whether you can take Keen Tondo or not is whether you'll take Keen or Keenly Empowered. For the offhand you have a few options. You can either go Greatsword, you can go Fire Staff, you can go Void Gauntlet, but for the bulk of stuff you're going to be going Greatsword just because it offers so much. Now I'm not 100% sure, I haven't done a crazy amount of testing on this, but I think Grace is going to be a really good option here, as we're not really trying to do any damage with the weapon. So with this one, if we enter Onslaught Stance, so let's say we use Relentless Freedom through a mob, it's going to give us 40% haste for 6 seconds, which is huge. That paired with Relentless Freedom in case we get stuck in some kind of CC, it's just going to be a really good offhand option. Getting in, getting those early taunts, getting out, and moving on to the next mob packs. So you can look at Inferno. The only issue with that is the taunt range is kind of small. I think it's only like 3 meters. And then also Void Gauntlet's super strong too, but that there only has the Scream, which is also kind of a pretty small taunt. I really like the mobility of the Greatsword, so it's going to be the most common offhand you will be using. For your Heart Rune, you want to look at Stone Form. It's up to you which one you want to use. Stalwart is a very nice option as it gives you a little bit of healing as well. The main bonus of Stone Form is even though you do have that grip with the Rapier, you can end up getting stagger locked, so it will protect you against that. You can use it when you're entering into packs so you can get good positioning where you want to fight. And with the high attack speed of the Rapier, it does charge up unbelievably quickly. Onto skill trees, we're looking at this one here. I really like going all the way down through the Riposte tree for the extra stun duration and the extra cooldowns and the empower here. If you want and you're kind of using this as a more solo build, you could look at taking a couple points out and going down to Finalize and Flurry for an extra bleed. But I believe this here is going to be all round a pretty good skill tree. The Greatsword, this here is generally meta. Just going down the Onslaught tree for Unrelenting Onslaught for the extra cooldowns. If you're finding you'd rather have a little bit more sustain and lifesteal, you can go down the right hand side instead for Undying Defiance. You're not really using the Greatsword much here outside of mobility, setting up, and maybe some stand break. So don't get too stressed on this. You'll find your kind of niche on what works for you. So with this build we're hitting 93.6% crit chance, which is unbelievably high. With Keen Tondo you will be able to hit 100% crit chance, allowing for almost instant cooldowns of those abilities. So to wrap up, we have our 4 Enchanted Ward, our 5 Slash Conditioning, our 4 Refreshing. Ensure you've got Despised on your earring. We're really basing it around that crit damage. You want 350 dex, and then adjust your con and your int for your playstyle. I hope this here cleared up some stuff for you guys. I'm trying to find a bit of a template for these build videos. If there's anything else in these videos that you'd like me to describe a little bit more, please let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come visit me on Twitch if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.